this is another rambling hobby video. What style of game do you go for? Might sound easy to answer that, but what I'm talking about is a large scale war game versus skirmish scale. What do you prefer? Now, large scale war game is what I used to play a lot. 40k, a little bit of Warhammer, a little bit of Kings of War. Now I'm all about the skirmish games. Skirmish games are quicker, you don't need as many models, even though you can add a lot more if you want in some cases. Painting wise, you don't need to paint loads. Sometimes you can model models in skirmish games to look more characterful, while as in large scale war games, you know, a bloke with a gun's a bloke with a gun. He's just there to be a bloke with a gun, unless you're going to model each model differently to be its own character, which you could do if you want. But if it's rank and file big battle games, do you really want to? You could. Nothing wrong with that. Big scale war games, I've noticed, have gone kind of out of fashion as of late. You've got Warhammer going into Age of Sigmar, going to smaller scale in terms of actual model count. Because it's all around bases, you don't need to rank up and that sort of thing. People still play 8th edition, so it's not everyone's liked it, as the gaming community has spoken many a time. And I believe 40k 8th edition is kind of going the same way, in the sense of the size of the battles are going to be made smaller. Or I could be wrong, because, you know, they've kind of had a thought a bit more about what 40k 8th edition. Kings of War is kind of trying to fill the gap that 8th edition left, but is it doing it successfully? In some places in the country, in the world, yes. In some places in the country, in the world, no. It just depends where you are. The game is simpler than Warhammer, but is it better? Just depends on your playing style. But yeah, the mass battle games, you get more models. There's a lot more going off. It takes longer to play, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. And there's a lot more tactical nuance, in the sense of you're setting up one unit to do another thing, next unit does the next thing, and so on and so forth. Whereas in a skirmish game, there is a lot of tactical nuance, but it's not on that scale of huge, massive armies. You've got your dead zones, you've got your mercs, you've got your Malifaux, you've got your Shadow Zone Armageddon, kind of. You've got your tanks, Minch's game. You've got your they're the games I can list off the top of my head, but there is quite a few more. You know, with them you've got less models, but with games like Dead Zone and with Malifaux, you can add more models and change how your faction works. Depends on what models you put in. With Mercs, it's a case of you've got 10 models, maybe 11, depends on your faction you're playing, and that's it. You've only got 5 models to choose from per game, so pick wisely. That's kind of how you're customising your faction. It's just a case of pick your force from then to 10/11 models. So, do you like large scale games or not, is the thing, or do you like smaller games? For me, the smaller games, it's a case of time, it's a case of money, it's a case of painting, and it's a case of rules, because skirmish games only have so many rules in them. I think the biggest rules heavy one, as far as I can see, is Malifaux, because the rulebook is big chunk. Most of that is faction stuff, I will grant it, but it feels like a lot of rules. About, I don't know, about maybe 45% of the book is rules. But that's just what I think, and different effects and whatnot. But again, that's just me. Really, it's a case of what you want. Warhammer, Games Workshop's trying to do Skirmish with Warhammer. You've got Frostgrave, that's another one. That's not bad. It's not my thing because that's too much like Necromunda. I like my squad to be, this model does this, he has this. You could add on this if you want for a certain amount of points. There you go. Or as Merc's case, he's got this, he does this, and that may be the other. Done. I like the simplicity of most skirmish games. With mass battle games, there's a lot of things you've got to remember, and the rule books. Although saying that 40k is trying to streamline that down, which I do approve of. So I'm sure there's a few more points out there. Well, I suppose cost is a big factor in this, because big massive games you are looking to spend a lot of money on. Even Mantic stuff, which people say is cheap, not cheap as it used to be, but the quality has come up a bit. I mean, you're talking the big model, a fair size. I mean, 30 quid. That's a fair bit of money, even though it's cheaper than, you know, Games Workshop stuff. I mean, you've got the big dragon, you've got the big, whatever the Chaos Dwarf leader's riding, that just looks like a giant demonic wing hamster. Have they done a Phoenix yet? I can't remember. But yeah, the dragon that that they've done for the different factions, the giant dragon thing, looks pretty good. For Warpath, you know, the flyers, they're pretty big, but the price isn't that much considering what else is out there. But it's a case of, it's the options, and there's a lot more choice from Games Workshop there is from Mantic, even though Mantic's choice is expanding. Fancy Flight, yes, let's not forget about them, because they've got X-Wing, which is a skirmish game, a skirmish dogfighting game, where you've got, I don't know, at the most I've seen is 10 ships, but that's usually TIE fighters because they're cheap as all hell. Life is cheap, it's just going to get, because it's just made of cardboard. Not the model, but, you know, armour wise it's just cardboard. It's not a game that I like personally, but a lot of people do, just because it's pre-painted. See, that's another thing, pre-painted stuff. Pre-painted costs more, but a lot of people don't do that. It's only Dust Studios and X-Wing Fancy Flight that do pre-painted stuff, and you can get it where it's just undercoated a la Dust, or proper full painted, but you are paying top money. I mean, for the X-Wing stuff, for one little ship, you're getting, you know, more cards for it, different upgrades and whatnot, and the base and everything else, and obviously the model for 12 to 15 quid. Actually 12 to 100 quid, depends on the size of the model. Some are pretty big and pretty good, well detailed. But yeah, Rune Wars is another one. Rune Wars is a talk for another subject, I feel, but Rune Wars is trying to do the, I think it's trying to do the mass scale combat game, maybe Age of Sigmar size, so not as big as Warhammer 8th edition or Kings of War or Warpath or 40k, but somewhere in between them two. Yeah, just a little rant video. If there's anything I've missed out there, just let me know. Bye. For now.